Hi everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45trading.com. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel and this video if you could, please. It really helps me out, gain a little bit of traction on the web. If you could please like this or even comment, and again, share it out to somebody else that you know who trades that you think might be able to see a little value in this. I would really appreciate that and appreciate the help. So getting into the markets today, I'm going to try to make this as short as I possibly can. There's only so many possibilities that the market can go, directions that the market can go, up or down or sideways. We're talking about the week of October 21st to the 25th. We had one hell of a week last week, and I was hoping you were all finally profiting in that week. It was a very, very quick and intense downward thrust to grab the liquidity lower, and it just got below this pip on this chart here. Now your charts may look a little bit different than this, and what you want to do is you just want to make sure you have at least, this is one demo account that I typically use. This one here that I use through Vantage FX, it's a fairly fluid account that I use for my demo analysis, and it's very trustworthy data, I find. I do from sometimes consult another demo account as well too, just so I can get accurate data points, just in case one day it opens up in a great big gap, and am I seeing this correctly, or is it just that particular broker? So make sure you have at least 2 different brokers with demo accounts that you're reading your data from, just to make sure you're getting accurate levels. So anyway, that's all I got to say today. So again, like I say, we just plunged down 1 pip lower than this low here from the middle of summer, was when price was finally last down at 97. So I believe we're going to have further downside. However, what I would really like to see this week is price do a little bit of a retracement. Now, if you look where we're in, you see this level right here, and maybe I'll try to make this a little bit of a different color. See, it stands out a little bit more. That's a little bit easier. Now look at all the consolidation. Okay, all the times through the past year, and this actually goes back to November 2018, where we've been at this level. And I'm talking levels lower than where we are right now. And how many times it consolidated and went up and down and through this level. Okay, I mean 1, 2, 3, I mean more than I need to count. So there's a very good chance that we could see price bounce from here. Now if it bounces, and I'd highly anticipate a bounce, I'd really only be looking at price to go up to about here. Right about the bottom of this consolidation level is sort of, either the wicks, and depending on where the wicks are on your charts to the bodies, I don't know. So you always want to make sure you have a bit of a fail-safe there, and as long as it's not going deep up into this consolidation area, you could probably use the bodies. But I would assume that if we're going to continue down, I'd like to see price shoot up higher to about 97.50, 97.60 level, and then drop lower. Okay, that's what I'd like to see. We had a bit of that last week. That's exactly what I mentioned. So this was Friday, Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday of last week. We had the high of the week, and I basically came in, I said I'm looking for price to run higher, to tag up into these lows in here, and then to drop into here, this low here, and possibly this low. We had an extra bonus of another big run down below this group of price action in here, which I didn't anticipate, but obviously you guys all got paid last week, I'm assuming, if you watched this, so congratulations. I'm looking for more. I think there's a very good chance we could be down around the 96 to 95 level. I've got this area highlighted in green here, but I'm anticipating a bit of a run up this week. I hope we get that run up this week. Now, what could happen is we could see price drop down a little bit lower before it starts to run up. So that's the other anticipation or possibility I'm looking at. If price were to run back into about the 96.85, 96.90 level, we could see price shoot, just eclipse this low right here, and then start to run higher. And then I'd be looking for something like this to happen. Price comes up, and then price run lower. Now, do we get underneath this low here this week? I don't know. It certainly could. It could go much lower than that, depending on how much they really want to sell into this retracement that they've done here. So I'm going to suggest that this is going to be my target on the week. We could get down below here. Who knows? We could get down below here if they really want to start dropping the market. But I am anticipating a bit of a bounce and a bit of a retracement. And only because we've spent so much time, if you, again, looking at the dollar and what it's been doing, how much time it's been spending in and around this area right here that I have highlighted in red, I could very well see this come back down and shoot back up, and then come back down one more time for another pass into it. Is it going to happen 100%? I don't know, but that's what I'm anticipating on. So if we look at that on a daily, and this is the 1 hour, I'll just put the day dividers back on. So I'm just basically looking for a run above these highs right here. Rebalance, we do have a little bit of a gap on the week that started out at the time of this recording. It's Sunday evening, my local time. And we do have a little bit of a gap that this particular broker put in. So I will anticipate that getting filled. Do they fill it and then run up? Do they run up and then come back down and fill it? I don't know, but I do think that they will fill that this week for sure. What I don't want to see is a week that just goes sideways. Like, I really don't want to see this. I want to see a nice quick retracement up and then a drop lower. So that's what I'm looking for. So obviously, if we are looking for further downside on US dollar, I believe we're going to be looking at further upside for Euro USD and Pound dollar. And Euro had a great week last week. Finally, nice to see this pair breaking out a little bit. 175 pips on the week. That was the bulk of my week last week as well, too, anticipating a run above these highs in here. So now I'm looking at the same similar area for a run above up into 113.40, very similar down to the 95.90 or 9600 level on the US dollar. So same thing here. We had a little bit of a gap. Price opened up lower on the day. You can see right in here. They haven't quite filled it yet. Obviously, the gap price closed up here, and price gap down a few pips. So what I'd like to see again, price running lower. I'd like to see them take out the low of Friday and rebalance somewhere in this range, either right at 111.10, or they could even come all the way down to 110.75. 110.85. It's about a 25 pip variance in here that I'm sort of looking for price to rebalance lower at. They also could do, and I didn't really mention this on the US dollar, but they could just basically scream back down into the high of Thursday's candle and then rip higher from there and not want to go any lower, and that's this candle right here, obviously. So they could just come down a few pips and then shoot this thing straight higher. But I do believe at the end of the week we will be back up to mid to low 1300s. Okay, and that's basically just a run above these equal highs in here and a tag back up. So that's really it. There's not a lot of magic to what I'm talking about here today. But again, if you look at the current area that we're in, we could see them do the same thing as I mentioned, the dollar, consolidate a little bit, bounce around a little bit, so just be very cognizant of that. What I haven't done was bring up the economic calendar like I usually do. I apologize, I just saw it out of the corner of my eye. So this week, I definitely would stay away from the Canadian dollar this week. There's a federal election happening Monday, October 21st, tomorrow, and then Canadian dollar comes out with the Bank of Canada Business Outlook Survey, core retail sales. So it's going to be a little bit volatile for the Canadian dollar early in the week. When that settles down, you may want to have a good look at that, but I definitely would be trading it into, it's kind of funny, they put a federal election as a medium impact event. I think it's going to jar the Canadian dollar a little bit. So that's just me personally. Wednesday, nothing going on except for crude oil inventories. And then we go into Thursday, and it's all euro all day long, except for this one little news event high impact news event for the US dollar. So same thing as Canadian dollar. Now we have a monetary policy statement and an ECB press conference. This is going to jerk the Euro USD around a little bit, so be very careful. If you're going to trade the Euro USD, Make sure all your trades are in Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and I do not trade euro on Thursday or any euro related pairs on Thursday, because you could see a lot of volatility that you may not want to see. And then Friday we finish up with some medium impact. So all in all, it's fairly light on the news calendar this week. Void of any major news events. We've got core durable goods for the US dollar, and there's no pound sterling news events at all, which, just so you guys know, to keep you updated, they have were failed to pass over in the UK Parliament. They failed to pass the I guess approval of the Brexit deal, and so they voted on it, and the MPs decided to reject it. And so basically what that means is that they're rather than going with a hard Brexit deadline of the 31st of October, it's now going to be extended longer into January. So that just means more uncertainty for the pound dollar. So just keep that in mind going into the pound. Like I say, there's no news on the pound for this week coming up. But again, Brexit is still sitting there, and they have no idea what's going on. And, you know, they can't get this thing to go through if it saved their life. So I don't know what could happen with that. But you can see right out of the gate on that news, price started lower. And again, I would anticipate a little bit of retracement. We do have some relatively equal highs above here at 131.93. So that could easily pop up to 132. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Sorry, just trying to grab this guy. So that could easily pop up, obviously, to this level without a problem. Now, same as the US dollar and the euro, I would like to see it come back a little bit, but you can see in here, price was very evenly traded and distributed in here. The only real areas that I'd be looking at would be much lower, and I honestly believe if price starts coming down below, you see this little area in here where they consolidated for a couple, 3 days. If price comes below there, then we can target lower down in here. But I'm just going to wait for a little bit on pound dollar, because I don't know if it's just going to be a straight shot. Pound had a monster of a week last week, and the past 2 weeks, to the tune of about 800 pips in the past 2 weeks of trading. So they definitely reached these objectives very quickly. Now, do we shoot up to 132.00 right off the bat? You know, I think they could be another maybe week, or maybe by the end of this week they could get up there, certainly. If we see another big decline on the US dollar, very easy to see another big push higher on pound dollar. So if we go down to an hourly, we had a little bit of a drop, a little bit of a gap in here. But again, price traded very efficiently in through here. A couple of equal lows down under here. But I think if they're going to drop this, I don't want to see them get any lower. And this is that area that I highlighted where they spent 2 or 3 days in here trading. I don't want to see them go lower than that. And they exploded up into here and retraded back in there, and then exploded up again. So I don't think they should need to come back down to that. But I would expect a little bit of a decline on the pound. And again, this week here there is no news events this week on the pound, so just be a little bit careful on that one. And I don't have a whole lot more to say about the pound dollar. If we fail to get above this high here, they could like if we all of a sudden reverse, come up, and then fail to get above here, or just take out this high by a couple of pips, just be careful, because they could really send this thing back down. I don't want to see that happen, of course. But if you do look at this, we do underneath here have some equal lows under here that they could want to run below to. That would be a pretty serious decline in my, in my mind. I wouldn't think that they're going to run it all the way up here and then just run it all the way back down. But again, they just failed to pass that vote in Parliament, and so anything's fair game for the pound dollar. I like this though. I like how they came down once, retraced and came down and ran those lows and never came back there again. I like to see that. Price tried to rebalance lower, and then it shot higher again. So I like this bullish price action. That's why I think we're going to see more of this to continue. But just be a little bit careful, again, on the pound. And when this thing really starts moving, you don't want to fight it. If this thing starts moving, have tight stops. I would, like I say, wait to see if they want to come down underneath this area here for the week, and then see if that's the low. If they start cresting back above here, then you can maybe look for an entry. But if this thing starts running and you don't expect it to turn around in a hurry, it could literally run against you 300 or 400 pips, and that would be an account killer. So make sure you keep your stops relatively tight, and don't get too aggressive with the pound. But you don't want to short this one, is what I'm saying. You want to make sure you're staying long, because the overall trend, right, we all heard it before, the trend is your friend. I believe the trend is going to be higher, but we could, for the next day or two, see some retracement. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say on the pound for now. We'll come back, and obviously our members will get a lot more detailed insight on the analysis of this week, starting with our live London Open session Monday evening, or I guess Tuesday morning, New York or London Open at 12 a.m. New York time. There's a much more detailed analysis that I'll be doing for the Euro and the cable that you can take part of if you're part of our membership group. Okay, Euro GBP quickly. Again, same equal lows. I'm looking for Euro GBP to continue its descent. We had a chance to go higher here, and price failed miserably. It rebounded right off of these lows in here, perfectly to the pip. Just took out this high here and raced to the downside. And that's why you saw all that upward movement, quick upward movement on the pound dollar because of the decline in Euro GBP. Again, I believe we're still going lower, lots of areas below here. And so this is kind of why I'm thinking that the pound is still going to go higher from where we're at. But just be careful, spending a lot of time in here wicking. And again, I'll counsel you to look at what happened in the past. Right, we're in here, we're in this big consolidation range where they typically spend a lot of time. They spent 3 months in here consolidating. Okay, so just be careful on that. We could spend a lot of time bouncing back and forth in here as well too. It may not, it may just drive right through, but you can already see one candle down, 1, 2, 3 candles up, and now we're in its 4th candle, the open of the week here. So we'll see. I'm hoping they're going to come up, sort of eclipse these highs here just briefly, and then start to run back to the downside, kind of what we saw here, just sort of running above these highs here and then dropping. I'd like to see one more big push down below here, and that would be my targets on Euro pound. Now there is a lot of areas back down here. We'll cross that bridge once it gets below these lows here, but I think this is just going to be a bit of a speed bump to those lower ones. I think ultimately they want to take this thing down. And the only reason is, if you look at this, Euro GBP came up once, came up twice, took the high, consolidated, came all the way back down, swept these lows, ran aggressively back up, took the high by a couple of pips, and then sunk. And I believe that they're going to continue to sink this thing. You look where price is at. And it may just be, and again, if they are going to sink it, it could just be a quick return below here, maybe a quick run below here, and then they run it higher. Maybe their ultimate goal is to keep this thing higher. I don't know, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, I believe these lows here are going to be the next ones to fall in line. Okay. Again, U.S. CAD had another big down week. It is election day for the Canadian dollar and Canada. Their federal election coming up, and they're voting new leaders in, and so we're going to have probably a little bit of sideways trading for Monday, and then all of that monetary, a business outlook and everything else is going on, retail sales and everything on Tuesday. So I'd probably stay out of the Canadian dollar for at least a day or two just to see what's going to happen, but very similar to what the U.S. dollar is looking like. We do have these lows under here that I'm looking at, 130.15. You could probably say even 130 big figure. They would probably run that back down to. I don't think we're going to be going any higher. If we do go higher, I don't want to see them come any more than this little consolidation level in here. I don't want to see them go up into or through this level here. If they do, then we're looking at these highs here that they could be targeting. But I would expect a little bit of a retracement higher to start the week out. Again, looking for just something kind of like this to happen, and then further downside. So let's see if we get that this week on Canadian dollar. But like I said, give it a couple of days, let the election settle down, and then jump in the CAD. Australian dollar is not waiting around for anything. This thing is just bullish. They came down very similar to what the cable did over here with this run below and rejection. Very similar on the Australian dollar. They came down once, twice, 3 times, and the 4th time they smashed it down and straight up, and it hasn't stopped. So I'm fully anticipating them to be well above this high in here. It's not too far away. It's only about 30 pips from current location. What would be great is if price came all the way back down, swept the low of Friday, and retagged off of these old highs back in here, and then went higher. Sort of a breakout retest strategy, something kind of like this. That would be nice to see. That would be a nice, if I see Australian dollar do something like this, that would be, for me, would be a long. But I don't like really taking it where it's at from here. But again, if we are anticipating much lower prices on US dollar, then again, this could just be a speed bump from their overall main goal to get up into here. So we'll see if they want to do that. But I like Australian dollar, very, very bullish. I talked about that last week as well too. I hope with our members. So hopefully a lot of our members got that trade last week, because again, just nice, steady, easy entries on Australian dollar that really panned out solidly to 130 pips. So okay, finally, well, not finally, actually, just real quick, I'm going to talk about crude oil to finish up, but I just want to talk about gold. Look at what gold's been doing. Nothing. Gold has been going sideways. It's been consolidating. Very strange. Usually, if the U.S. dollar is going one way, gold's going the other. U.S. dollar has been dropping like a stone. We don't see that similar push-up yet in gold. Now, maybe it's a delayed effect, and we'll see that happen this week. I like what we've done in here. I like how price came up, ran this high here, dropped back down, failed, dropped back down, rebalanced off of this area in here that, again, I talked about this area right in here. See this little gap in here? I talked about this area when price was all the way up in here. I said I want to see price return back down to that area. That happened. And look at the bounce off of that area. Just beautiful bounce. And so now we've just kind of been sitting sideways, a little bit stagnant, going out to a weekly. You can see we've spent 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks, a little over 2 months now from the high that we made in mid-summer this year. Hasn't been able to make another high again yet. So am I anticipating this thing's going to start screaming up to 1800? No. But if we see significant drop for the long term on the US dollar, it should kick gold into gear, and we should start to see higher prices on gold. Again, I like how price returned back down to here and got these old levels back down in here. You can't see it on the weekly, but you can on the daily, obviously, right in here. Got those very nicely. Do they drop down one more time? Very possible. They're really spending a lot of time in here. So they're either A, building up long positions, and they're going to start building up an area of support in here where everyone's thinking, area of resistance in here where everyone's going to, no, I said that right the first time. An area of support in here where everyone is thinking that they're not going to go any lower, and then everyone's going to jam their stop up under this low here and under these lows, and then they're going to shoot it down, take everybody offside, and then they're going to run this thing higher. That's probably what's going to end up happening. Because this level of consolidation here is really extended. Or number two, the US dollar, this is going to be a very quick move lower, and they're going to start running this thing back higher immediately. I.e. if maybe they come to some sort of a agreement with the Chinese on some of these trade deals. I don't know. I'm just speculating. Anything could happen. But maybe that's what gold is waiting for. Gold is going to go lower because the U.S. dollar is going to go much, much higher if those trades come back on, and they're just artificially slowly walking this thing down, and then when the U.S. dollar releases, this thing's going to drop like a rock. Possible. Or number two, they're just building up longs and they're going to start releasing this thing this week. But either way, I think we're going to see a move on gold here fairly soon. Okay, that's all I got to say on gold. Crude oil. Now, This one, I will tell you, is going to keep dropping. I know there's a lot of analysis out there saying that there's a lot of crazy stuff happening geopolitically that should be pushing crude oil up, but there is a ton of inventory out there that they're claiming right now that's suppressing price. I don't care what it is. All I know is that whatever the reason is, whether it's oversupply, undersupply, bombings here, political that, invasions this, production cuts there, whatever the case may be, crude oil is going below $50. See this red line right here? It is going below $50. It hasn't done it yet. It's going to go there. Does it shoot up into here and try to make a new high in here before it does? I don't think so. If you look at this and you look at all these levels that are building up in here, everyone's saying that this is support down here, right? So everyone's buying. Everyone's jamming their stop up underneath all of these lows. That's fine. But look what they did here. There was that bombing in Saudi Arabia. They were consolidating price, and I was anticipating this thing going lower. But they shot it higher to put shorts on. All they were doing was taking out stops. Anybody who was short, who was going to be right long term, they just shot them right out of the market right there. Boom. They took all their stops, all their levels out, and then they started selling into this. Selling. They're going to keep going lower. They're going to be below $50. Does it happen this week? Folks, I don't know. We've been consolidating since the first part of October. And again, seasonally, crude oil is hits the extreme bearishness here in the next short term, 30 to 60 days here on the calendar. So keep that in mind. The recovery on crude oil doesn't typically start happening until early next year. And you'll just look at last year. What happened? Earlier this year. Look, price ran all the way back down till the end of December, and then what did it do? Went straight up the first 2 quarters of the year. That's what I'm anticipating. I'm anticipating they'll probably keep consolidating this thing, or they'll really drop price here in the next week or two. And by the end of November, early December, we'll be back down around 45 to 46, down around here. And then towards early next year, they're going to start climbing. And I think there's a very good chance we could get up above $70. We'll see what happens. But crude oil, short. I'm not bullish crude oil. I don't believe they're going to get through this area in here. If they do, we could certainly look at some short-term long plays on crude oil. But I'm not bullish on crude oil. I'd like to actually see if they even want to break this level here this week. So we'll see what they want to do. They might just shoot above it, take the stops, and then drop it down. But I think we're going to go lower this week on crude oil. Lots of levels below here that I'm watching at as well, too. Okay. So, again, I will give our members in our group a much more detailed analysis and specific levels to watch for, entry levels and exit levels. And for this free video, obviously going out of my YouTube, that will have to suffice. So if you guys like what you see, again, like I say, please give me a quick thumbs up. Share this out. Hit subscribe. Tell others, whatever you want to do. Visit us at f45trading.com, of course. And we can certainly help you with your trading a lot more from here, from these recorded versions. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys all have a very profitable week. For the week of the 21st to the 25th. And again, it's the last week of the month again already. So I'll be back again next Sunday with another weekly market update. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great week.